Hey, what's going on guys, it's your boy Fano here, and today we're going to be talking about the best cheap CSGO knives that you can currently get in 2021. All the knives in this video should be just about $100 depending on where you purchase your knives. Obviously if you use the Steam community market they will be a little bit more expensive, but either way let's get right into it. Here we go. Starting off with the first knife, we have a classic knife, Forest DD Pat in the field tested condition. It actually was under $100 on the Steam market but has since rebounded from its December lows. A very nice one if you can find in a low float. The Forest DD Pat looks really good, and especially on like a classic knife that has a lot of like skin on it, I think it looks amazing. Would definitely recommend. It's a classic knife, so there you go. But moving on to the next knife, we have a Bowie knife, ultraviolet in the field tested condition. Looking really good, very minimal scratches in field tested if you can find one in low float. Highly recommend you guys check this one out. I mean, Bowie knives are pretty old. Bowie knife being iconic for only having one hand hold the knife. There's no second hand that does anything really with the Bowie knife, so part of the reason why the Bowie knife hasn't gone up in price like some of the other rare CSGO knives that were released around the same time, but either way, still a knife worth having. The Shadow Daggers Crimson Web in the field tested condition are going for around $100. Try to find one with a good pattern. Don't worry too much about the actual float. I would say with Crimson Web, just focus on the amount of cobwebs you see. The pattern is what really dictates the price with these skins. But next up here we have a knife that, you know, it doesn't really matter too much about float or pattern or anything. It's the Navaja knife Tiger Tooth factory new condition, going for just under $100. Very nice knife. I used to own one myself before I gave it away, and it looks really good. Has a decent animation, and more people should like the Navaja knife honestly. But in Tiger Tooth, another reason to get it because it is a pretty cheap knife that looks pretty high tier. Following that, we have a falchion knife, just a vanilla falchion knife, guys, going for around $100. I'd say pick it up. I mean, falchion knives are pretty old. They have a nice rare animation, and who doesn't like a good vanilla knife? Even if it's just to hold it for like a year or two, you might see some decent returns one day. But next up here we have a Huntsman knife Damascus steel in the field tested condition, going for somewhere between $96 to $100. I'm a pretty big fan of Damascus steel knives. They look good in just about pretty much any condition, so field tested will still look really high tier even though you're paying less than the factory new. I'd go with it, guys. Very nice on a Huntsman. And then also here we have a Bowie knife Knight in the field tested condition, going for around $96 again to $100. Decent knife right there. Just be mindful of the scratches. Knights do tend to scratch. And then next up here we have a flip knife. Could you believe it? A Damascus steel no less in the field tested condition, going for just under $100. I like flip knives. A lot of people do as well. And Damascus steel, it's a no-brainer. I'd go with it. It's a pretty cheap knife and definitely one worth having. Looks really high tier. But moving on, here we have the Shadow Daggers Ultraviolet in the field tested condition, going for just under $100 as well. Very solid set of knives here. Just make sure that you find one with a low float because ultraviolets also tend to scrape a little bit. Either way, they're so tiny that you really won't notice the scratches that much, and they will still look pretty decent. So try to find a mid float one, you'll be fine. You could also go with like a Crimson Web well worn. He'll have more scratches, but again, it's a Crimson Web. Those will work too. You could also go with like a case hardened field tested if you can find one with some pretty decent blue on it. You'll be swimming in some moolah at some point, and Shadow Daggers also look pretty shiny and desirable in case hardened conditions, so another reason to go with them as well. Let me know which one of these knives is your favorite, or if you guys have an alternative knife for around the same price that you want to share with us in the comment section below. That's about all I had for this video, guys, so until next time, this is Fano, signing out.